Hello, welcome to Coffee Convo Wednesday. I love that this is a little different today because we are simulcasting live on two shows right now. If this is your first time, welcome. This is Coffee Convo Wednesday. My name is Cindy Simmons. His name is Michael Collier. And this is Coffee Convo Wednesday. We're also live on Mike's show, Lean In with Mike Collier. If this is your first time, welcome. This is show number 212 for Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. Wow. This is going to be a little different than how we normally do Coffee Convo Wednesday. Normally we're here for about 15-20 minutes. We talk about three things and I give you something free at the end, but today we're going to probably be here for a little while.
A little bit longer.
A little while longer, but we do have something special to give you at the end from both Mike and myself. But I want to let Mike introduce because he is also live for his show Lean In with Mike Collier. So take it away, Mike.
That's right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome back to Lean In with Mike Collier. I'm extremely excited to have you guys tuning in with my good friend Cindy Simmons as we are talking about what needs to be talked about right now. I think there are a lot of people having the conversation that we're going to be having today, and we're hoping to really just begin a healthy dialogue. And so many people are looking forward to it. And so thank you for tuning in. As you guys know, if you hadn't seen me before, if it's your first time tuning in, I am a real estate advisor with eXp Realty. And so I service the Central Florida area, but I have access in partnership with over 29,000 agents across the United States, as well as Canada and the UK, and as well as Australia.
He's like a big deal.
I mean, if you need it, we got it, is all I'm saying, right? So if you know anybody that needs to sell a home or wants to buy a home or looking to invest in a property, please let me know. You can reach me at www.michaelcollier.work. All right, so this is a special edition.
It is a special edition. I do want to say Michael and I have been friends. We actually lived in Atlanta at different times,
right.
But we've been friends for a few years. Our families have broken bread together. Michael is also a former Walt Disney World ambassador. So fancy. But Mike and I have had several conversations just about race relations and things happening in the world because we're friends, and that's what you do when you're friends. But we thought it would be neat today if we kind of did this dual simulcast on his show and on my show, because we both normally are, yay, happy, positive, rainbows and unicorns and, happy people, and we're still happy. But right now, we're just a little sad. And for him, it's probably a daily sadness. So there is so much going on in the world right now that I wanted to have him on the show, and we wanted to have this conversation as a way, and we should say, we are going to be here a while because we both like to talk, but because there is a beginning of a conversation that needs to happen, and we're not going to solve it today.
Right. No, there's no way listen, disclaimer, I wish we could have one of these disclaimers across the bottom that says, I am not the spokesperson for Black America.
Correct.
Okay? She is not the spokesperson for white America. Okay? So we completely recognize that. You may agree with some of the things that we are saying, and you may not. But it is okay.
It is okay.
That's why we're having this discussion, because it is okay. Seek to understand versus being understood. And if everyone did that, I think we'd be in a different position than we are right now in this country. But here we are. And the truth is, generations prior to us have had this conversation. They've had dialogues. They've tried it a few different ways. And unfortunately, not much has changed. Somebody told me the other day, God, Mike, I just feel like we're going backwards. I just feel like we're going backwards. And I said,
it does feel like that a little bit.
It does feel like that, but my belief is that we've just been standing still. We've been standing still, but the earth has been turning.
Yeah.
The earth continues to spin. The days continue to go. The years continue to come, right? These gray hairs didn't pop up overnight. I mean, they feel like they did, but the truth of the matter is we haven't had any true action. And so now what you're seeing is a reaction to the non-action. Right. And so,
So I wanted to start, I really want this to be so much more about you just sharing thoughts and sharing stories. because that's what I do every week. I share thoughts and stories. So everyone's probably heard many of my thoughts and stories, but I wanted to just share one, as we're getting started here. So one of my best friends, Elisa, who is black, she and I have been.
Wait, is that your one black friend though?
That is my one black friend.
You have your. Well, what about me?
I know, that's why I'm laughing, because it's not my one black friend. But that's what I think. Like they're the white people joke.
Right.
Like, I have a black friend.
I have a black friend too.
And Elisa and I met when I first moved to Atlanta. She was my very first friend that I met at the radio station that I worked at in Atlanta. And she always laughs because I can tell you what she was wearing the day I met her, because I love her so much. So we've been friends for almost 20 years now. So let that sink in. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until more than halfway into our friendship, and I'm admitting this because I'm embarrassed and mortified, but I just want to give you perspective of like where I've been living in the white la la land. I did not know that she was treated differently than me until I asked her. I did not know that she was treated differently than me until I asked her, because every time we're together, in my eyes, we were treated the same. Mm-hmm. And so I remember calling her, I remember being in my closet calling her and asking her, can I ask you like a stupid question, like well into these many years of our friendship? When you go like somewhere, are you treated differently than I am? Because I had never seen it with my eyes with her.
Right.
And she goes, oh, yeah. Like when I go into a store, I'm getting the side eye, or there's like the extra lingering look. And I remember just sobbing because I was embarrassed that I didn't know that, because I, grew up like a 90s kid too, where I was wearing the shirt that says love sees no color. I went to a school where I was in the minority. Most of the kids at my school were Filipino or from Mexico, Colombia. I mean, I had such a diverse group of friends. So I, in my head, my white head, grew up just thinking, oh, hey, I love every color, and I don't see any color because I love everyone. And then I just learned, like, that's not the case. I'm supposed to see color. You're supposed to see color.
That's
so I wanted to ask you about that, because do you remember those shirts that said love sees
no color?
No color, yeah. And after she and I had that conversation, like, man, I remember it just, like, changed how I saw the world. Yeah. Like, how did I go, like, for most of my adult life, and I didn't know that?
I think... Yeah, I know. So there's a lot there, but I would say this: the truth is that God's love sees no color.
Right. Gosh, that's a great point.
But our love, the way we learn to love, let's be honest. I mean, even race relations aside, right? How many of us grew up in broken households where the love that we saw ain't what we wanted for ourselves, okay? Right. We don't do it right.
Right.
We don't do love right.
No.
And so, because we are living on this earth, having a human earthly experience, we have to operate in this world. And in this world, although we would love to be able to say that love sees no color, people do.
Right.
People do. And I tell people, I tell my friends, when I hear, oh, I don't see color. I say, I need you to see color.
Right.
I need you to see color. I need you to see that there are differences in the way that you are treated versus the way that I'm treated. I need you to see that the law as it is codified is different for you than it is for me. I need you to see that the very Constitution that this country was founded on was not founded with me in mind.
No.
Okay? And I know that is not an easy conversation to have. That's why we're here.
Right.
Right? Because you may not see color. I know your heart.
Right.
But the truth is, the building of our nation, the very White House that the president sits in, was built on the back of slaves.
Right.
And so when we talk about freedom, which is interesting because we'll probably come back around to this, but it's an interesting point because, next month we have 4th of July, right? The most patriotic holiday we can have with this in the background, or should I say this in the foreground.
Yeah.
we have some interesting times ahead.
I was watching a YouTube video the other day of a white woman who, and I'll have to find it. If I find it, I'll put the link below in the comments. But she was speaking in an auditorium. It looked like an older video.
Okay.
And so it was a white woman, and she was speaking to a white audience. I don't know if they were college students or just, a conference or whatever. And she asked the white crowd, if you think you would like to be treated like black people are treated, please stand up.
Ouch.
No one stood up. So what does that say? Like, okay.
Did she reverse the question though?
No.
Did she say if you're a black person in this room?
No, because it was only white people.
Oh, it was only white.
It was only white people.
Okay.
But no one stood up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so you're basically admitting that you don't want to be treated like a black person.
Yeah. It's so many times we talk about. You've heard it before. We've all heard it before. The race card.
Right.
Right? Oh, you're playing that. They're always playing the race card. That race card thing is basically saying, you're crazy.
Right.
You're crazy. Like what you're talking about is not what I meant at all. That whole thing that you're talking about is not real.
It's make-believe.
It's make-believe.
You made that up in your head.
Yeah.
I am not validating what you said.
I am not validating what you said.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm going to keep on telling you you're crazy because I'm not choosing to see it. I'm not going to acknowledge that you might have a point. Right. And then you juxtapose that with the conversation that you're just talking about, where who wants to be treated? Well, I don't want to be treated like them, but I'm just saying it's not different.
Right? Do you know Maria Smith in Atlanta? She's a great blogger, and I've known her for a few years. She wrote recently about how, I think she runs. I don't run, but those
I'm not much of a runner
those
either.
runner people.
Those runners.
I read if someone's like, there's a cupcake at the end, and I'll race you to get the cupcake. Then I might run. But she was just talking about how when she runs, even in her own neighborhood, she won't stop in front of someone's house because she's afraid if someone looks out and sees a black woman, standing in front of her house, is she casing the joint? She said she won't stop if she's out of breath. She won't stop in front of their mailbox in a neighborhood because she's afraid if someone looks out, they'll think she's stealing their mail. And she's afraid when she's running, if someone's like, good morning, if she is, out of breath, because that's how I am when I'm running, and can't get the breath.
I start out of breath before I start running.
That is me. That's why I don't run. That she's afraid if she doesn't say good morning back, that the person will be like, angry black person, angry black woman. And she was listing off all these things. And to me, that would be so exhausting. I know this has got to be so exhausting for you. And I'm sorry. I'm selfishly happy that you're here because you're my friend.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry that you just have to keep having this conversation because I know you have to be exhausted.
Well, yes, but the truth is, and we said this earlier, I don't have the option.
Yeah.
I don't. Black people in America, especially black males in America, I don't have the choice of whether I want to be tired and just not do anything or say anything. And I'm hearing this from even some of my friends. I'm just exhausted. I was talking to a friend of mine just the other day, and he's like, "Dude, I'm just so tired of it, man. I'm just pulling away from all of it. I'm just tired." I said, "You can't. You don't have the option of being tired of this, right? You're not able to change the plight by being tired and saying that you're done. Because guess what? As you all know, there are people who are waiting for this news cycle to be over.
Oh goodness, yes.
Come on.
It's gone on.
Are we
done
done yet?
now. Let's move on. Where are the murder hornets? Bring in the
murder
hornets.
Let's bring back the coronavirus. Right? And I know it looks like we're not socially distant, but we actually are.
Yes.
This is forced perspective where we're right. It looks like we're closer than we are.
Yes.
But we're together in spirit. So this is a conversation that a lot of people don't want to have, and a lot of people are afraid to have. And let's just be honest. There's a lot of probably your friends, there's a lot of my friends who have a homogenous environment.
Right.
All of their friends are white.
Right.
I have black friends who all of their friends are black. And I'm not just talking about the people they work with.
Right.
I'm not talking about acquaintances.
Like social circle that you hang out with.
That you hang out with. The people that you love, people that you check in on. People that you have, you talk about things. You talk about social dialogue.
Right.
You talk about the rights and the wrongs. People that you actually love. And so often I'm having these conversations today about people who are finding out about this for the first time. A lot of this is a new realization for a lot of white people in America. I have friends who are not black, who are married to black people, who still didn't really truly understand that this is a thing.
It's still a thing.
This is a thing. And it's painful for them.
Oh.
It's painful for them. But I would also say it's necessary. It is a necessary conversation, right? It is necessary to feel the pain, because it is not just about reconciliation if you don't truly get back to the root of how we got here in the first place. You know, you hear people talk about this, you hear that thrown around all the time, white privilege, right? And some people are just tired of hearing white privilege, especially if you don't truly see the white privilege. Right? But that's why it's white privilege.
Because you don't see it. But I think it forces white people to feel awkward and uncomfortable and admit, I'm totally part of the white privilege thing. And I heard something the other day, and tell me if this is true. I'm going to try not to mess it up.
That's right.
It is no longer okay to just not be racist. You have to be anti-racist. And I think that's the difference. Like, I think, and I'm guilty of it. I think, I've just not been racist because that's not my heart.
That's right.
Oh, I need to be more than just not racist.
Yes.
I need to be anti-racist in every possible way. And it's interesting because yesterday, you know, when the whole the Black Square, you know, that everyone was posting on social media.
Blackout Tuesday.
The Blackout Tuesday.
Hashtag Blackout Tuesday.
Hashtag Blackout Tuesday. So I took that as an opportunity to really try and just share resources from black friends, from black-owned businesses, restaurants, black-owned restaurants here in Orlando. I really was just stealing, if I'm being honest, from all of my black friends and sharing as much as I could. Interesting, I woke up today with less followers on Facebook and Instagram. And you know what? I'm like, bye.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. Because I'm like, so that's like a thing. Okay, all right, that's cool.
It is a thing. You know, the brokers that I work with, you know, we have a few less agents after the company made a comment, right? Made a statement about how they feel. There's a zero tolerance on racism and these injustices, and you know, you can act a fool if you want to. You could just do it somewhere else,
right?
And Disney even took a stand, right? There's a lot of companies that are taking a stand, and they are receiving a lot of backlash for it.
But then I think that's people showing their true colors.
It is. Well, people want to call it politics.
Well, it's not.
Right? They're getting politics. They're getting political now. You know, now that you've stepped into politics, I don't want anything to do with you.
Facebook isn't for politics. Social media isn't for politics. It's not politics to me. It's human beings.
This is real life.
Right.
This isn't political. We're not talking about party affiliation here.
No.
We're talking about lives being lost day after day, month after month, year after year, and the same news cycle being, you know, it's not politics when an unarmed black man dies at the hands of a police officer, but the very first reaction is, I wonder what he was doing though.
Right. That's what's
show
crazy.
show his background though. Show I know he was a thug, but he was probably doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing anyway. Right? And people are tired of that rhetoric. It's rhetoric.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's choosing not to see color.
Right.
Right?
I want to talk a little bit about, we both have children. Actually, 2 of ours are playing right now upstairs.
Yeah.
Social distancing.
Right.
We both have children. Talk to me about how you speak to your children and how you, I mean, obviously they're much younger right now. Because I know the conversations that I've been having with my children for years. So mine are 14 and 7. And yours are 6 and...
Almost 2.
Almost 2.
Yeah. Almost 6 and almost 2.
Almost 6 and almost 2.
She will correct me every time. 5 and a half.
Goodness, I'm 5 and a half.
But she turns 6 this month.
When does he turn 2? Sidebar.
August.
Oh, gosh.
I know. Happening fast.
I love him so much. Okay. But how you're going to have conversations with your children is vastly different than the conversations I have to have with my children.
That's right.
Like my daughters walk to go check the mail, and there's no thought given to when they go check the mail. But you will have to have a different conversation with your children.
There's no question. Now, you know, there's a fine line, because you have to wonder, you know, as a parent, a black parent in America, we have to figure out when is the right time, right? When is it too early, right? When is it too late?
Yeah.
When is the right time? And the truth is, you know, you have to be age sensitive. But I will also tell you, well, my daughter's seen some of the news cycle. Your kids have seen some of the news cycle. If your kid has a smartphone, they see that America is on fire.
Oh yeah.
And they're confused if you are not having this conversation with them.
I've shown my girls the news cycle. Now, I didn't show the younger one the video. I totally told her what happened though, but I just felt like maybe 7 is, I don't know.
Right.
But my teenager, absolutely, because I need her to see that.
That's right.
Because she needs to be seen.
She has to, you know, I call it piercing the bubble.
Oh, that's good.
You have to pierce the bubble.
Yeah.
Y'all, if we don't have real conversations like this, it will be repeated. This becomes rhetoric.
Right.
And there are a lot of people throughout America who don't want to have this conversation because they're tired of talking. They know that there's some people who say, yeah, well, let's just talk about it, right? How often have you been in a relationship where after a big fight, they say, you want to talk about it? Yeah, let's talk about it. Are they listening to you though?
Right.
And even if they are listening to you, the question becomes, are they willing to change though? Right? So back to your question, what conversation am I having with my children? Well, you know, Bryson, who's the 2-year-old, he doesn't know. Right? Yeah. He's like, where's Sesame Street? Right? You know, where's Elmo? However, Brooklyn, the almost 6-year-old daughter, she was watching some of the news cycle, and she said, well, why is everybody crying? Right? Why is everybody so angry? And I explained to her that there was a police officer who did. There was a couple of police officers who did a very bad thing, and unfortunately, and she said, "What did they do?" And I said, "Well, they killed someone." Well, what did he do? Well, he did something that they didn't like. However, it wasn't. The problem is they were not supposed to kill this man.
Right.
And she said, but why did they? This is a 5-year-old guy. Right? So, sorry.
That's all right. You're gonna be...
So, having the conversation with her, trying to make sure that I keep it at a 5-year-old level, but at the same time, making sure that she understands that not all police officers are bad.
Right.
It's not about all white people being bad and all black people being bad, right? It's not, right? It's not about that.
No.
But like I said, they don't have, my kids, I have a nephew, he's 21 years old. He just turned 21 years old. He doesn't get the luxury of not knowing what could happen to him if he gets pulled over, driving crazy, or just being out at night. He has to know how to respond when a police officer is in his rear view. He has to know that his response, the way he responds, could be the difference of whether or not we see him again or if he ever makes it home.
A conversation I and my parents never had with me.
Yeah.
Like, I won't have to have that conversation with my kids. Like, I wouldn't. And my parents never had to have that conversation with me. Do you remember when that conversation was had with you?
Yeah, I was probably about 11 years old, right around 10 or 11 years old. My parents, my mom, they lived in Compton for a while, and so there was this. It was a different Compton than it is even now, but they faced crazy racism on the way to school. There was she always told me about this car of guys that would drive every single morning when they were walking to school. These white guys would be in their pickup truck, and they would, throw rocks at them, right? And they would call them all kinds of names, and it is a very real conversation for her. So she lived it, and
Right.
she understood that she needed to have the conversation with me as well. And I was 13 years old, which is when I was 13 years old when I first had my first, I guess I'd say, real interaction with kind of the police. And it goes back to your story, similar story. I was in Lenox Mall in Atlanta. Shout out Atlanta. Right?
ATL.
That's right, ATL. So I was in a music store upstairs in Lenox Mall. I can't remember which store it was. And I was in there with one or two of my cousins. We were there, and we were just looking through. You guys are, some of us are old enough to remember, like, flipping through CDs, right?
I remember.
Right, yeah. Alphabetized, looking through the CDs, the tapes, right? We were searching through the tapes. And I don't remember exactly what we were wearing, but I can tell you that before we could leave the store, there was a young clerk, a white girl. She worked there. She was the cashier, and she said, "Show me your pockets."
Wow, really?
Show me your pockets? You want to see my pockets? She said, "Yeah, show me your pockets, because I know you took something from there. I saw you take something from there." I said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't take it. I didn't take anything."
Right.
She said, "You guys are not leaving this store until you show me what's in your pockets."
Oh my gosh.
Now, I'm a 13-year-old boy, but at the same time, I knew that this was about more. This was confrontational, and that day I was ready for the confrontation. So I'm like, "No, why do you need to see my? Well, I know you took something. I didn't take anything, right?" Ultimately, her manager got involved. There happened to be a security guard that was walking by. A security guard comes in. They said, "Let's just show your pockets." Okay. Ultimately, showed my pockets. All I had was money in my pocket. The only thing I had was money in my pocket. And there was a feeling that I had. There was already a little bit of anger that I was feeling in that situation.
Right.
There was a bit of embarrassment that I had in that situation. And the embarrassment came from not just being accused of something that I didn't do, but it was being made a spectacle of because all of the other patrons that were in the store had stopped to watch.
Looking.
Now, I come from a lineage of strong black women. My mom is one of those strong black women. Shout out, Mom, if you're watching.
Beautiful.
And so when we were done, I went downstairs and said, this is what just happened.
How fast was your mom at that store?
It didn't take long. It didn't take long before they were in utter apologies. And, I was like, yeah, Mom, that's what's up, But that was the first time that I had truly felt it. I can tell you that my niece, Sydney, it was when she was in third grade. Third grade, her best friend was having a birthday party. And her best friend started handing out invitations. You guys remember how it feels when you're in class and somebody's handing out these invitations and you're like, oh, I'm about to get this invitation.
See the goodie bag of the party.
Right? She didn't get one. And she's like, well, clearly this is a mistake. Right? In her little 8-year-old mind, clearly this is a mistake. And she asked her friend, hey, I didn't get my invitation. And her friend replied, my mommy said I can't have black people at the house.
Gosh.
And so my niece, obviously, she was confused.
Right.
She was hurt, she was confused, and she came home to talk to her mom about it. And, well, that apple doesn't fall from the tree from my mom to my sister. So it was, she didn't go to the party, but her mom knew how, the girl's mom knew how my sister felt about it, Didn't change anything, but I say all of that, and I know that was probably a long story, but we have to pierce the bubble.
Yeah.
If you are a white parent who is listening and watching, I know it's not easy. And no, you're not telling your kids that they can't have black people. I get that. But it is still happening.
Yeah.
My niece is not even yet 21 years old, so that wasn't that wasn't that long ago.
Right.
We're not talking about the 1960s.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right? The conversation has to be had. And if you leave the race out of it, if you leave the true nature of how we got here, we can't talk about moving forward if we don't talk about how we got here.
Right.
And are there ways to do it? Yes, there are ways to do it. But it starts with having dialogue and conversation and being open and honest and being willing to pull the scab off.
You said a few minutes ago about having change and making that change. So, like we said at the beginning of the show, I don't represent all white people in the world. You don't represent all black people in the world. But I am a white person. You are a black person. What are some of the steps in your opinion? Because for in our house, I love my little one who's 7. She plays with American Girl dolls. And years ago, one of our sweet friends got her a black American Girl doll because she looked like Auntie Shishi, which is my black best friend, and that's what we call her, Auntie Shishi.
Shout out to Auntie Shishi.
Listen, Auntie Shishi single. She said, if you're going to talk about me on the show ever, you need to make an announcement that I'm single. So there you go.
There you go. Anybody looking for Auntie Shishi, she is available. Okay.
So our friend got my daughter this doll whenever she was 3, I think, because the doll we thought looked like Auntie Shishi. And so I know in our house we have books that are from black artists. We, listen to music by black artists. Mm-hmm. What are other things that white people can do just to, kind of immerse yourself, I guess, in different races and different cultures. But in addition to that, what else? Because I know, for someone watching right now on either of our shows, they might be going, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Help.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's important to talk about the problems, but it's also important to talk about what next.
Right.
What do we do? If I want to know more, what do I do? I would say that the first step is awareness.
Okay.
Being aware of your own implicit biases and prejudices. We all have them, right? I mean, we all have them.
Yeah.
Right? Black folks like chicken, right? Mexicans like tacos. White people like couscous, whatever. Whatever.
I do like couscous.
I mean, I like couscous too. That's the thing, right? I love tacos, right? But I do love chicken too, right?
I love chicken. I love tacos.
Come on, right? It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. But being aware of whether or not you feel uncomfortable in a room full of, right? Insert here.
Right.
You know, if I, you know, as a Disney ambassador and working at Disney and many of the other places I've worked, like I have many times been the only person in the room, the only black person in the room, right? I've sat at boardroom tables, and I am the only one.
That's crazy.
So ask yourself, how often do you find yourself? One of the things I coined was seek to be the minority.
Oh, that's good.
Seek to be the minority, right? If you find yourself in a homogenous environment often, you want to make a change, seek to be the minority. And now you begin to understand, you'll be able to create these bridges of relationship that allows you to now have the conversations that we're having, because you create genuine friendships. And you go, gosh, maybe they aren't so bad.
Maybe they aren't so bad.
Right. You know, so that's one of the things. Acknowledging, this is a big one. Acknowledging the effects of slavery in America and Jim Crow laws that still exist in America. As we talk about the justice system, or as some people call it, the injustice system.
Well, what do you say to people? Because I have heard, not people I know, I've seen people post on Twitter where people are insane. Well, why are they still talking about slavery?
Yeah.
Like, I know that, but, you know.
Yeah.
Has anyone said that to you? Like, why are you still talking? Why are you bringing up the
Why are
slavery?
you bringing up old stuff?
Why are you bringing up old stuff?
Why y'all always bringing up old stuff? The reason why is because it is still very real. You have to understand that racism is not, listen, racism and prejudice is different. Okay? Racism is a systematic approach to keeping a certain people from attaining the same level as others who look like me, right? And when you begin to understand that it is systemic, when you understand, if there's a book called The Making of a Slave by Willie Lynch. Some of you have heard of it. Many of you, if it's your first time, you're welcome. It's not a fun book to read. It was actually a manual. If the name sounds familiar, it's because lynching came from Willie Lynch's name. It was not just a physical, but it was a psychological abuse. It was mastery on an evil level. How do you break a family apart? How do you break an uppity Negro? You got to break him in front of everybody. You got to, there's details that some of you guys probably won't even want to hear, but some of it involves castration, right? And this isn't just me talking, right? Do the research. If you want to have these conversations, you're going to have the hard conversations. Do the research.
But don't you think that we do need to read that book? We do need to have those conversations that make us as white people feel awkward to even have like an iota of understanding?
I do. I feel like it's very important. I think that it's not just that movie, right? There's not just that book. There's plenty of books. There's a ton of books. There's the history is there if you want to know. That's what I would say. The history is there if you want to know, and I don't even know it all. There's a great movie that I just rewatched yesterday, actually.
Is it the one they just released for free? What is it called?
This one is called "I Am Not Your Negro."
No. Okay. Remind me to ask you about it.
If you guys have ever heard of the late great James Baldwin, a fantastic writer.
I Am Not Your Negro. Okay.
I Am Not Your Negro. Just watch it.
Okay.
If you want to understand, this is, and I think I mentioned. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. I meant to say it if I didn't say it already. This isn't about white guilt, right? I can't make you feel guilty about something that you didn't do.
Right.
Right? Like if you tell me I stole something, I don't feel guilty because I didn't do it.
I didn't do it.
Right? It's not about that. Now you can choose to feel guilty. You can choose to feel attacked, but that's not what this is about.
No.
Right? And so, but if you choose to want to understand, now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Did I answer your question?
You did.
Well, I think to kind of finish that point, to tie a bow on it a little bit, there are still effects of Jim Crow. There are still effects of slavery. When you hear your friends joke about, oh, his daddy probably wasn't there, right? Or when you make a baby mama joke, right? Black folks and they babies mamas, right? There is a systemic. There have been laws and regulations that have been put in place to make sure that minorities, people of color, don't have the same job opportunities that others do. If I submit a resume, okay,
right.
Let's say your name is I don't know, Melissa Johnson.
Or Cindy Simmons.
Or Cindy Simmons. Because I don't know who Melissa Johnson is. But, all right, yeah, let's go with Cindy Simmons.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, that's a pretty white
Now,
name.
that's pretty white. And Michael Collier. I guess you can't really use that. But let's say my name is Hakeem Jamal.
Okay.
Which happens to be my middle name. Okay. You didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Do you know my middle name?
I don't.
Okay, so we're
Cindy Lee.
No.
No.
That does sound like.
I tried to think of the whitest name that I could possibly.
And that was
Cindy
pretty
Lee.
close.
Cindy Lee Simmons, right?
Cindy Ann.
Cindy
I
Ann.
mean,
Well, it's really close. All right. But if I submit a resume and my name is Hakeem Jamal, and you submit a resume and your name is Cindy Simmons, you're at least yours is probably going to get a few more eyeballs than mine would.
Right.
Right. And it's not probably. Look it up. The stats are there. I'm not making this stuff up. This isn't a victimization of like, this is what's happening. This is what we've been being called crazy about for so long. Right? And so when we start talking about the presence of opportunities and the presence of, even education.
Right.
Right? Education. Public schools are funded by property tax dollars. Right? Okay. Now, the majority of minorities go to public schools over private schools. Okay. It's not a surprise that home values in minority neighborhoods tend to be lower than that of white neighborhoods. Right?
Right.
Okay. So if there are higher home values in a certain neighborhood, there's also higher property taxes that are paid, which means that a larger amount of those resources are going to those public schools.
Right.
So what happens on the opposite side of that? Lower home values, lower tax dollars, and work opportunities, as we just talked about.
Right.
Okay? Lower amounts of funding, overcrowded schools, less quality education, higher dropout rates, lower college attendance and acceptance, lower employment, lower income.
Right.
You see, it all plays a part. This is not, if you think that what you're seeing right now is, what you're seeing right now across America is spontaneous combustion, you need more black friends. I mean, I'm gonna say that, and the reason why I say it is because we could have told you that if there continues to be a silence on major issues, if we keep on seeing this, you will have some angry people in the streets.
Well, my husband Eric and I were talking about that the other day, and we talked about this before. Like if like when your little brother, your little sister does this to you.
I call this poking the bear.
Yeah. And you keep getting poked for your whole life. Every day, someone, you know what I mean? I would snap. I think that's why I think it's mind-boggling to me that people don't, like they're surprised that this is happening. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's been happening to you over and 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 over, and you know what I mean?
You know what happens when you poke the bear, though? You keep on poking the bear, what does the bear do? It responds.
Right.
But what happens to the bear?
The bear gets killed.
We can end it right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you keep on poking the bear responds, but you blame the bear for biting your finger off. The bear gets put down.
Right.
And so the bear is what is talked about. Oh, these rabid bears or these angry bears. The angry black bear. See how we can have this conversation?
This is I love our friendship.
This is good. You know? America has created the angry black bear.
Yeah.
And so how can you be, let's go back to some of the solutions.
And then they're perplexed by it.
Oh, yeah.
What?
How dare you?
Well, how dare you?
There's a couple of things I want to mention, and because we're almost at an hour.
Oh my goodness.
I know, it flies by. Everybody's still tuned in, so I hope you guys are enjoying this.
We had this conversation so many times about how we were like, okay, let's try not to make it long, but then we were like, but we can't because we could talk to each other for 8 straight hours, and that's what happens every time we talk to each other.
It happens all the time. Right? We're both very high eyes, right? In the disc profile, we're like, yeah, we're extremely high eye. But you know, so we talk about what can happen.
Right.
What can we do? I made a couple of notes. Awareness, acknowledgement, support.
Yeah.
Support legislation that creates more opportunity for everybody.
Everybody.
Right? That's voting as well.
That's a big thing. Voting.
Voting.
Oh, I don't feel like it. I don't like either of them.
Right. Or politicians don't really do anything anyway. You know, that whole thing. But you know, black people in America are not expecting for white people in America to all of a sudden put us first, right? And think about our perspective or our social injustices every time they make a decision, right? We're not asking you to walk in a constant mode of appeasement, right? On a heightened awareness of making sure that you don't offend a black. That's not what this is about, you know. However, there are laws, as we talked about a little bit, touched on it, and do the research. Again, it's there. You know, in this country, we talk about the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the primary focus. And you should take care of your family, but not at the expense of others.
But you can take care of your family and you can take care of other people's family. I mean, isn't that what we're supposed to do? Will you please read? Remember when we were talking about, was it in John 1?
Yes.
I'm horrible at reciting
No, that's
scripture.
all right. You were close though. It's 1 John. 1 John 4:20.
Okay.
And that was the next point that I really wanted to talk about too. Is
I love this.
We are in need of a heart transplant. America is in need of a heart transplant. This is not about just changing a few laws and this whole thing going away overnight. Because guess what? We tried that.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
It didn't work so
We're here.
much.
America's on fire. Newsflash.
Yeah.
Okay? This is about a heart transplant. This is, we believe, and we know to be true, that God is very real. And if we don't get God involved in this conversation, we are doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over. Why? Because, man, humans are imperfect beings. There's nothing that we can do. There's nothing that we can do outside of the love of God that will allow us to be who we're supposed to be, who we should be, and who we were created to be. And so there's a reliance upon, we're talking about praying for our nation, positive thoughts for our nations. It's not just about positive thoughts, and it's not just about prayer either. This is about action.
I was going to say it's about action. Positive thoughts and positive prayers are good, but we need action.
And I might offend a lot of people, but I'll tell you this. The church has dropped the ball. The church has failed so many people, has failed this nation in so many ways. The church is supposed to be in front of this. This is why you hear people talk about, Christians being hypocritical. Oh, the church is so hypocritical. Well, first of all, there's hypocrites everywhere.
Well,
right?
That is true.
If there's hypocrites everywhere, why do you work at the place you work at? Right? You're a hypocrite too. We're all hypocrites. Sorry. Okay.
Newsflash.
Newsflash, right? But getting back to 1 John 4:20. 1 John 4:20 says, if anyone says, I love God, and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother, whom he has seen, cannot love God, whom he has not seen.
Can I get an amen?
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Preach, preacher. Okay? Hey, this is a real conversation. Listen, if you don't believe in God, well, check your wallet, because if you have any dollar bills in there, you probably shouldn't have those either. Right? For one nation, under God. Right?
You said about action, and I know we've also gone way too long, so I thought we could end on an action. So Michael and I, we thought it would be neat if, because we're simulcasting on Lean In with Mike Collier and Coffee Convo Wednesday, that we would give away a gift card to Starbucks to have a cup of coffee and have a conversation. So
I just had a thought. It's just kind of funny.
Yes.
White people love Starbucks.
White people love Starbucks.
Black people love Starbucks too, but white people love Starbucks. Let Starbucks do something that, anyway.
Michael and I were having a sidebar. We were having the funniest conversation because we're drinking coffee.
Yes, we are.
And he likes his coffee black, and I'm like, I have tried, but I just cannot drink it black. And then we just like.
I said, so you got something against black?
And I was like coffee! We just died laughing. But many people like coffee. If you don't, you can have a cup of tea.
Yeah, have a scone.
Have a scone.
Right? Don't they do those?
I think white people like scones.
They love scones.
I actually don't like scones.
I don't like them either.
Okay, so
I do like that egg white thing.
I like it. I like the egg bites. All right, so we are going to give you each a, let's figure out, what word would you like? How about love? How about just love? How about if you comment the word love and tell us the name of the state where you're watching Coffee Convo Wednesday. So comment love and the name of the state where you're watching Coffee Convo Wednesday, and Lean In with Mike Collier. We're going to give it a winner there, and Coffee Convo Wednesday, there'll be a winner there. And we will announce the winners on next week's show. We also both have YouTube, so if you want to check out YouTube, you can get a bonus entry there.
My wife just chimed in and said, "Hey, I like Starbucks too."
She does, because she has gotten me Starbucks before. So thank you, Courtney, for having my back.
Yes, my wife is black. She loves Starbucks. Okay, but she's one out of no.
Yes, Miss Courtney.
Yes. Thanks, babe. Thanks for getting me right. I appreciate that.
My teenager is a little obsessed with your wife. She loves her so much. And actually, I think your wife is kind of obsessed with my teenager. They love each other.
Yes.
All right, so that's our show. How can people find you? Because I know on Lean In with Mike Collier, they already know how to find you. But on Coffee Convo Wednesday, how can people find you and your awesomeness?
Thank you. So www.michaelcollier.work. You can schedule some time to chat if you want to chat. I am also on Instagram at I'm_Mike_Collier.
And I'm going to put the links to everything.
So all of that stuff will be in there. Yeah. You can friend me on Facebook. I got to get better at accepting these, but I'm just so. How many Facebook likes or requests do you get a day? Is it like ridiculous?
No, only because, I have a personal page and that's like maxed out because you can only have 5,000. But remember, it's because I was on the radio. So I knew as soon as I said it, you were going to give me a hard time about it. So
you can only have 5,000. So.
I knew you were going to give me a hard time, and that's why I love you. But on my regular, I am Cindy Simmons. You can do as many as you want. Yeah. You can follow me on all the socials by going to cindysimmons.com. We're always doing TikTok. Our family loves to do TikTok. So it's at I am Cindy Simmons. That's all of the socials where you can find me. Thank you for taking time out of the middle of your week to come over here and hang out.
I'm glad we did it.
Not that we wouldn't normally hang out.
I know, but.
Because you're not my only black friend. Sorry to break it to you.
So she said. No. Aunt She. Right? There can only be one of us in this relationship.
She is watching, and I know she's like, I am the only black friend she's allowed to have.
Right, that's right.
She's like, I have seniority.
What movie is that where the guy's like, dude, I'm the black guy at this party?
Oh,
have you seen that?
Yes.
I know you guys know it.
What is that?
Anyway,
and the movie I was thinking about earlier, I think it's Just Mercy. It's with Michael B. Jordan, and they just released it for free. You can rent it on Amazon. And is it Just Mercy? Oh, I just shared it on Insta Story, and I'm blanking on the name. But go and look on my Insta Story. That's another great one to watch. But thank you for being here. Thank you to everyone who stuck with us for, I know we were here an hour. It's the longest Coffee Convo Wednesday ever. Probably
the longest
Lean In with
Mike Collier
ever.
Sure.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Let's give them an, oh my gosh, I totally just spilled my coffee.
She did that because I was black. Okay, she just spilled
with
coffee all over with your non-black coffee.
On your jeans.
With your white cream in there.
With my white cream in. I was going to say, let's give them a cheers.
Let's give them a cheers. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
All right, we'll check you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.